My name is Julia Hartley, and Easter dinner at my parents' house has always been a production. Mom spends weeks planning the menu. Dad sets up the formal dining room with the good china. My brother David flies in from Seattle with his wife Sarah and their 2 kids. It's supposed to be about family, tradition, renewal. This year, it became about my failures. Julia. Mom called as I walked in carrying a homemade lemon tart. Oh, you brought dessert. How sweet. Just put it in the kitchen. I'd spent 4 hours making that tart. Mom didn't even look at it. David was already there, lounging in Dad's leather chair like he owned the place, a glass of expensive bourbon in his hand. His suit probably cost more than my monthly rent. Hey, little sis, he said, not getting up. Still living in that shoebox apartment downtown? It's a 1-bedroom, and I like it. At 35? Most people own property by now. Build equity. But hey, you do you. I'd learned not to respond to David's digs. He'd been like this since we were kids, always competing, always needing to be superior. Sarah gave me a hug that felt genuine. Julia, you look great. Ignore him. He's been insufferable all week. Bad week at work? I asked. Something flickered across her face. Something like that. Dinner started normally enough. Ham, scalloped potatoes, roasted vegetables, Mom's famous rolls. Conversation flowed, Dad's golf game, Mom's book club, David's promotion at his tech company. Director of Engineering, David announced proudly. 6-figure salary, stock options, the works. We're looking at houses in Mercer Island now. The good neighborhood. That's wonderful, honey, Mom beamed. What about you, Julia? Dad asked. How's the freelance writing going? Freelance writing. He said it like I was unemployed. It's going well. I just signed a contract with a major healthcare company for their content strategy. It's a year-long project. Freelance, David scoffed. So basically no job security, no benefits, no real career progression. David, Sarah warned quietly. What? I'm just being honest. Julia's 35 and she's basically living like a college student. No house, no husband, no kids. Just freelancing. The word dripped with disdain. Not everyone measures success the same way, I said, my voice tight. Right. Some people measure it in Instagram followers and avocado toast, David laughed. But in the real world? Success is about building something. A career. A family. A home. Things that matter. I have a career. You have a hobby that occasionally pays money. There's a difference. Mom jumped in. David, that's a bit harsh. Julia's doing fine in her own way. Her own way. Like I was taking the scenic route to nowhere. I'm just saying, David continued, warming to his theme, at some point, you have to grow up. Get a real job. Buy property. Stop acting like you're still figuring things out. You're 35, Jules. This is as figured out as it gets. My face burned. Everyone was looking at me with varying degrees of pity or agreement. I like my life, I managed. Sure you do. That's what all unsuccessful people say. David took a long sip of wine. You're a loser, Julia. I'm sorry, but someone needs to say it. 35 and still renting. No husband, no kids, no real success. Just floating through life with no plan, no ambition, no future. The words hit like physical blows. Loser. Unsuccessful. No future. I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. Everyone was staring, Mom, Dad, David's kids, even the family dog seemed to be judging me. Then Sarah stood up. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. Her face was flushed, her hands trembling. David, she said, her voice shaking. Maybe you should tell them the truth. Sarah, not now. Tell them who's been paying our mortgage for 3 years. The room went silent. David's face drained of color. Sarah, sit down. No. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. I'm done watching you humiliate her while living off her generosity. What are you talking about? Mom asked. Sarah turned her phone screen toward the table. I could see the banking app, the list of transactions. Julia has been depositing $3,500 into our account every single month for 3 years. 36 months. That's $127,000. She's been paying our mortgage. You could have heard a pin drop. That's not, David started. Don't lie. Sarah's voice was steel. I've been watching it happen. Every month. Like clockwork. While you've been buying designer suits and expensive electronics and telling everyone how successful you are. Mom's fork clattered to her plate. Julia, is this true? I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up. Of course it's true, Sarah continued, tears streaming down her face. 3 years ago, David lost his job. He was unemployed for 8 months. We were going to lose the house. Julia gave us money. And then more money. And then it just kept coming. Because David couldn't swallow his pride and tell anyone he was struggling. I got a new job, David protested weakly. 6 months ago. For 18 months before that, you were doing contract work that barely covered groceries. Julia's money kept us afloat. And this whole time, you've been treating her like she's beneath you. The room was spinning. I gripped the edge of the table. Julia? Dad's voice was small. Why didn't you tell us? Because David asked me not to, I whispered. He said he was embarrassed. That he'd pay me back once he got back on his feet. I thought I was helping. Helping? Sarah laughed bitterly. You've been enabling him to maintain his fantasy. To keep pretending he's more successful than you while literally living off your money. David stood up, his face red. That's enough, Sarah. No, it's not enough. She was shouting now. You just called your sister a loser. The woman who saved our house. Who kept our kids in their school district. Who paid for your son's braces and your daughter's soccer camp because you were too proud to admit you couldn't afford it. David. Mom's voice was ice. Is this true? He looked around the table, trapped. I was going to pay her back. When? I found my voice. When were you going to pay me back? Because you just told me you're looking at houses in Mercer Island. Those start at $2 million. We're just looking. You're looking at $2 million houses while owing me $127,000. It's not like you need the money, David said defensively. You're single, no kids, low expenses. I have expenses. I have student loans and retirement savings and a life I'm trying to build. That money wasn't spare change, David. It was my security. My future. You'll get it back. You called me a loser. My voice broke. You called me unsuccessful and directionless while I've been paying for your life. Sarah was crying openly now. I'm so sorry, Julia. I should have said something sooner. But David kept promising he'd tell everyone, that he'd start paying you back. And then today, listening to him tear you apart. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Mom stood up abruptly and left the room. Dad sat in stunned silence. David's kids looked confused and scared. You just ruined Easter, David said to Sarah, his voice venomous. No, she shot back. You ruined it by being a cruel, ungrateful asshole to the woman who saved us. I stood on shaking legs. I need to go. Julia, wait, Dad reached for me. I need to go, I repeated. I grabbed my purse and walked out, leaving my lemon tart on the counter, leaving my family in shocked silence, leaving behind any illusion that I was valued. I made it to my car before I broke down completely. I spent Easter night in my shoebox apartment that I apparently should be ashamed of, drinking wine and reviewing bank statements. $127,000. Over 3 years. Money I'd saved from good freelance contracts, from living below my means, from being careful and deliberate. Gone. Into David's mortgage while he called me a loser. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Mom, we need to talk about this. Why didn't you tell us? Dad, call me. Please. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I should have spoken up sooner. David won't talk to me. I ignored them all. What was there to say? Then, at 11 p.m., my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Sarah, still in her Easter dress, eyes red from crying. I opened the door. I left him, she said. Took the kids to my sister's. I can't. I can't be married to someone who would do that to you. Sarah, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She came in, collapsed on my couch. Julia, you don't understand. It's been eating me alive. Watching him take your money month after month while criticizing you, while acting superior. I've been complicit. I've been part of this. You didn't know at first. I've known for 2 years. I found the statements. And I said nothing. Because I was scared we'd lose the house. Scared of starting over. But tonight, watching him humiliate you, I realized I'd already lost everything that mattered. My integrity. My self-respect. We sat in silence for a while. He's going to be furious with you, I said finally. I know. I don't care. He should be furious with himself. She looked at me. Are you going to ask for the money back? I'd been thinking about that all evening. I don't know. The contract we signed says it's a loan, but there's no repayment schedule. I was too trusting. It's still enforceable. I'll testify to every transaction if you need me to. Sarah. I mean it. You saved us. The least I can do is help you get back what's yours. The next morning, I called a lawyer. His name was Robert Kim, and he specialized in family law and contract disputes. Do you have documentation? He asked after I explained. Bank transfers. Text messages from David acknowledging the debt. An email where he thanks me for the loan. That's good. That establishes it as a loan, not a gift. You can demand repayment. Even without a formal contract. The electronic trail is a contract. Especially if he acknowledged it was a loan. How much are we talking? $127,000. He whistled. That's substantial. I can draft a demand letter. Give him 30 days to propose a repayment plan. If he refuses, we sue. He's my brother. He's someone who took $127,000 from you and called you a loser. Family is a relationship, not a free pass for exploitation. I authorized the letter. 2 days later, David showed up at my apartment. I almost didn't let him in. But I wanted to hear what he'd say. He looked terrible, unshaven, rumpled, eyes hollow. Julia. We need to talk. I'm listening. I got a letter from your lawyer. He held it up, crumpled. You're really doing this? You owe me $127,000, David. Yes, I'm really doing this. I said I'd pay you back. When? You've been saying that for 3 years. You missed your first payment 18 months ago and never mentioned it again. I've had expenses. Like what? Designer suits? Expensive bourbon? A house you can't afford? His jaw tightened. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. Then explain it to me. Explain why you thought it was okay to take my money while treating me like I'm worthless. He sat down without being invited. When I lost my job, I panicked. Sarah was pregnant with our second kid. We had this beautiful house, this perfect life everyone envied. And suddenly I couldn't pay for it. So you came to me. You were the only person I could ask. Mom and Dad don't have that kind of money. My friends. I couldn't let them know I'd failed. But you could let me know. You're my sister. I thought you'd understand. I did understand. That's why I helped. But David, you were supposed to pay me back once you got stable again. Instead, you bought a new car. I needed a reliable car for my commute. You bought a BMW. A $40,000 BMW. While owing me 6 figures. He looked away. And then tonight, you called me a loser in front of our entire family. You mocked my life, my choices, my career. While I've been subsidizing yours. I was drunk. Drunk words are sober thoughts. You meant it. You think I'm a failure. I don't, he stopped. Maybe I do. Maybe I'm jealous. That surprised me. Jealous of what? You don't care what people think. You live in a tiny apartment and you're happy. You work from home in sweatpants and you're happy. You don't have this crushing pressure to perform, to succeed, to be impressive. His voice cracked. I've been drowning for 3 years, Julia. Drowning in debt and expectations and fear. And you're just free. I sat back, processing that. So you tore me down to make yourself feel better. I guess so. Yeah. That's incredibly messed up. I know. We sat in silence. Then I said, Sarah left you. She took the kids. Won't answer my calls. I deserve it. You do. Are you going to sue me? Do you have $127,000? No. I have maybe $10,000 in savings. The house has equity but it's not liquid. Then you need to sell the house. His head snapped up. What? Sell the house. Downsize. Pay me back. I can't sell, that's our home. The kids' school district. David, you can't afford it. You've been living a lie funded by my money. It's time to face reality. Sarah will never agree. Sarah already knows it's coming. She told me yesterday she's been looking at rental listings. He looked gutted. Good. If I sell, I can probably pay you back $100,000. Maybe $110,000 after closing costs and the mortgage payoff. Then pay me that, and we'll call it even. You'd really forgive $17,000? I'd really like my brother back. The one before success made him cruel. If forgiving some of the debt helps you rebuild, fine. But the rest? I want it. Soon. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, Jules. For everything. I know. But sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Actions do. 3 months later, David and Sarah listed the house. It sold in 2 weeks for more than asking. After closing costs and paying off their mortgage, they had $112,000. They wrote me a check for all of it. It's more than you said, I pointed out. It's what we owe you, Sarah said. Plus a little extra for lost time and broken trust. David looked older now. Humbler. He'd moved into a modest rental house closer to the city. Sarah had decided to try counseling with him before making any permanent decisions about the marriage. Thank you, I said, holding the check. I'm the one who should be thanking you, David said. You saved us. And I treated you like garbage. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just hope someday you might. I didn't answer. Because I didn't know if I could. Mom and Dad had been horrified when they learned the full extent of what happened. Dad called me crying, apologizing for not seeing it, for not defending me. We raised him better than that, Dad said. I don't know where we went wrong. You didn't go wrong. David made choices. But it had changed our family dynamics. The next holiday gathering, 4th of July, was different. smaller, more honest. David was quieter. Sarah was watchful. Mom and Dad were more intentional about including me in conversations. And when Dad raised his glass for a toast, he said something that made me cry. To Julia, who defines success on her own terms and lives with more integrity than any of us. It wasn't perfect. The wound was still fresh. But it was healing. And I had my money back, money that went straight into a retirement account where it belonged. I also had something else, clarity. About who I was. About what mattered. About the difference between being generous and being used. My brother had called me a loser. But in trying to destroy me, he'd revealed his own failures. And I'd emerged stronger, clearer, and finally free. 6 months after Easter, I bought a small house, a real house, with a backyard and a mortgage I could afford on my own terms. I invited everyone to a housewarming party. David and Sarah came. They brought a plant and a card that said, "To new beginnings." We weren't back to where we'd been. Maybe we never would be. But we were somewhere new. Somewhere more honest. And that was enough. My name is Julia Hartley. My brother called me a loser at Easter dinner, until his wife revealed I'd been paying his mortgage for 3 years. I got my money back. I got my self-respect back. I got a house. And I learned the most important lesson: success isn't about what others see, it's about knowing your own worth. Even when no one else does.